Okay, we got 2 more verses and a big one, so we better carry on. So, number 7 says, in short, both directly and indirectly, do I offer every happiness and benefit to all beings to all my mothers. Oh, it's a different version. I have a different version. Do I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers? I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful actions and suffering. So this verse is talking about Tonglen. You probably heard, yeah, I think in the last course you also learned Tonglen. You did Tonglen. Okay,
several times.
Okay, so this is about Tonglen, taking on the suffering of others and giving one's happiness and benefit to others. And I think where he says both directly and indirectly, my guess, I don't know for sure, my guess is maybe directly, you know, if you do have things you can give to others, you know, if they need food, you can give them food, if they need money, you give them money. So you can certainly, you know, physically give what is needed by others. And then indirectly, it's probably referring to this practice of Tonglen, where you're doing it within yourself, within your mind, and imagining. And in fact, I read a meditation, a beautiful meditation, that you could do. It was in another thought training book, where you just think about all the beings there are and what their needs are, what they need, and then you just imagine. It wasn't necessarily a Tonglen practice, but you know, just giving, you know, imagine, visualize all these wonderful, beautiful things, and then giving them to others. Beautiful meditation. Because I mean, physically, we're limited how much we can give. We have just this one body and 2 hands and 2 legs and, you know, limited amount of money and resources, unless you happen to be a billionaire. But, you know, how much we can physically give to others is limited. We can't be all over the world wherever there are people in need and, you know, give them everything they need. So we do as much as we can, but then whatever we can't do, we can do it by visualization, imagining, visualizing, giving. So even though we're not really giving them anything, they might still be hungry and poor and homeless and so on, but it's a way of increasing our compassion and our love and our wish to give, and creating the causes that one day, it's like, one day I would like to be able to do this. One day I would like to give to all these people. And there's so many wonderful stories about people in the world who do that, you know, who are, what do they call it, humanitarians or philanthropists, you know, people who are so generous. I heard about this one man in Pakistan. He just passed away last year or the year before. He was in his 80s or 90s, and I think at the age of 20, when he was still in his 20s, he just got motivated to help people, and he did amazing things. You know, Pakistan is quite a poor country, and he started all these social services. One of them was so beautiful. They would put little cribs all over the city, and if a woman had a baby, a girl had a baby, and didn't want the baby or couldn't take care of the baby or whatever, she could put the baby in this crib. And then regularly, you know, somebody would go around and check the cribs and you know, rescue these babies. And so they had like homes for all these children where they were given food and clothes and education and, you know, a whole life. So they gave lives to so many children who otherwise would just end up, I mean, sometimes people, you know, women put their babies in garbage cans or throw them in the river, you know, unwanted children. Horrible. So just, I mean, just that alone, I don't know how many thousands or tens of thousands of children they rescued like that. And then they started an ambulance service, you know, free ambulances, you know, driving all over the city, picking up people, and really, really beautiful things. It's so beautiful to read about people like that. And the wonderful things they do. And anyway, so we can give directly whatever we can, but also indirectly through visualizing. And then it says to all my mothers. So you probably, that was probably in the last module. This whole idea of mothers. It's a hard one. They say it's one of the most difficult of the meditations. Even Pabonka Rinpoche, this great, meditation master, he said he spent a year, like really working hard, meditating probably every day, to get that realization, to really get to the point where he could see all beings as mothers. So it's not easy, even for a Tibetan like him who believes in past lives. Many of us don't even believe in past lives, so it's really hard. But just the idea, whether we take it literally or not, it's such a beautiful idea, just to, with another sentient being, to think, maybe that person was my mother in another lifetime. But also you have to have a good relationship with your mother.
Exactly. You made your mother.
That's problematic, yeah. I mean, if your mother was a difficult one, was an abusive one, or an unloving and neglectful one, then, put her aside and try to find some other mother. Yeah, find a really loving. I was lucky. I had a very, very, very loving mother, really amazing mother. I didn't appreciate her when I was young, but as time went on, I got more and more appreciative of her, so she really was a good mother. So try to find some good mother, somebody else's mother if it's not yours, and just look at what mothers do for their children. I mean, it's really amazing. And some of you are mothers too, so you know how hard it is. So, I mean, they say the mother is someone who probably does more than anybody else for the child. She's the one who carries the child in her womb for 9 months or so. And then, gives birth, goes through that terrible pain of giving birth and the danger as well. Many mothers don't survive childbirth. So their own life is a danger. And then feeding it, taking care of it, bathing it, changing diapers, playing with it, talking. That's so many things a mother does. And the one thing I find really good to think about is there's no salary. I mean, how many people would do that kind of work? It's like a 24-hour day job. You don't even get to sleep well at night. Every few hours you have to wake up to feed the baby. And you don't get any pay for it. No salary. Right?
Not only that, but when you're a teenager, and then you give your parents hell. Sometimes.
Sorry?
When you are a teenager, when the child grows to be a teenager, and he gives the parents hell, with the difficult time he has.
Whew. So, that whole meditation really helped me to appreciate my mother and my father and what they did for me. I didn't appreciate it when I was young. So, it's a really beautiful meditation, just to look at what parents do for their children. And anyway, so that's the basic idea, that everybody has been our mother. And they've also been our father, and our grandmother, and our grandfather, and our teacher, and our doctor, and our friend, and our husband, and our wife, and our child. I mean, they've been everything for us. So we had all these relationships. But the mother is particularly a special one, because she really does so much for us. We wouldn't be here. I mean, really, just to think about that. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't exist if it wasn't for my mother. You can't produce babies in the laboratory, in a factory, okay? I only come out of a mother's womb. So my whole existence is dependent on her. And I mean, it may sound hard, but think about it. Even if all she did was, bury you in her womb and then give birth to you and then leave you after that, never do anything else. Even that itself is something. That itself is a kindness, something to appreciate. Because again, she gave us our life, our body. So anyway, it's a beautiful meditation, and then seeing how mothers are kind. I think most mothers are kind. Most mothers are kind, even if they make mistakes. I mean, they're just human beings. Being a mother is hard. It's hard work. So it's not fair to expect them to be perfect and never make mistakes. So seeing every being as one's mother is a really beautiful thing, a really powerful thing. And what I find is I'm still not convinced it's really true, but just to think like that, there's this insect down there, and kind of ugly looking, and hard to feel love for it. But if I think, maybe once upon a time, long, 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 long ago, that being was my mother, and gave birth to me, took care of me, and nurtured me, and loved me. Wow, it does something to your mind. It kind of opens you up. Because you can't be sure. It's not true, right? We can't prove that it's not true. Nobody can prove that it's not true. That means it might be true. It might be true. Buddha said so. This comes from Buddha. This was said by the Buddha. I found the sutra. It's in the Pali Sutra. I used to think it's just Tibetans who made this up, but then I found the sutra where the Buddha said, okay, it's Buddha. It came from Buddha. So that kind of made me take it more seriously. And Buddha said, it's really hard for me to see anybody who has not been your mother, your father, this, that, and the other thing, So maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. And if it is, it's a beautiful idea. So then, when you think, if you can't accept that, even possibility, it really does help you open up and feel more inclined to help them, take care of them, be kind to them, at least not harm them, don't step on them and squish them and be mean to them, but at least be kind to them. So then it says, secretly, this term secretly, maybe a little bit strange. I think what it means, my guess, this is my interpretation, is that we shouldn't make a show of it. We shouldn't show off, advertise, boast. Like I want everyone to think I'm this great bodhisattva and I'm doing Tonglen, I'm taking everybody's suffering, I'm such a martyr, that kind of thing. So it's best to do it in a subtle way, in a hidden way, not advertise, not show off. But also the Dalai Lama said something. Oh, yeah, the Dalai Lama's commentary says that secretly means that the practice of giving and taking may not be suitable for beginners, but is intended for those whose compassion is strong and well developed. So, some people take to this practice very quickly and they love it, but some people are very uncomfortable with it. It is a difficult practice. Some people feel afraid. The whole idea of taking suffering from others, that's really frightening. So I think that's natural. So don't think that this is a practice we should teach to everybody and make everybody do it. I think it is an advanced practice. So, and also there's different ways of practicing Tonglen. I can't remember if I talked about that here or somewhere else. But there's one way that, yeah, I think we did. The first week we using your own problem, yeah, because the real practice, the full practice of Tonglen, you imagine everybody's suffering coming into me, and that's pretty scary. But they say, if you feel scared of doing that, you start with your own suffering, your own problem. So I think I led a meditation, and maybe I sent you the explanation of it, where if you yourself are experiencing a problem, then you can use that as a basis for Tonglen. Do you remember we did that? Mm-hmm. So that's a really useful practice. So if I'm sitting there in a traffic jam, it's not very pleasant, but then I think about all the other people in the world who are also in traffic jams, worse than this one, sometimes hours, every day, several times a day. I only have to do it occasionally. So you can think about other people who have a similar problem to what you're going through, and then you think, okay, now I understand how painful it is, how difficult it is for them. They don't want this suffering, just as I don't want this suffering. And then, so then after feeling compassion for them, then you think, I will accept this suffering, I will accept this problem myself, instead of trying to reject it, push it away, get rid of it. I accept it, I will go through it. By my accepting this suffering, may all those other people be free of theirs. So it doesn't mean, you shouldn't expect something's actually going to happen, all those traffic jams are going to clear up and everyone's going to drive somebody. That's not the point. The point is, it's a mind training. It's something for training our own mind. Something to help ourselves become less self-centered, focused on me all the time, and more open, compassionate, loving to others, caring more for others. So the practice of Tonglen is mainly done for ourselves, not for others. Does that make sense? I mean, it might have some effect on others, but that's not the real point. It was really funny. When I was in Italy a number of years ago, there was this doctor, he was actually a psychologist, but he was working in a hospital, and he was really into Tonglen. He thought Tonglen was great. He wanted to do an experiment, a scientific experiment with Tonglen. But his idea was he was going to get people to do Tonglen for people in the hospital, people who were suffering as patients in the hospital. And then he was going to check if it had any effect on them. But actually, we're trying to explain to him that you don't do Tonglen because it's going to make other people better. I mean, it might, but that's not the real point. The real point is it's going to change you. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you more loving and more compassionate and so on. That's the real reason or purpose for doing the practice. Because you can't really take away other people's suffering. You can't make them happier. Even the Buddha can't do that. So how can we do that? So it's mainly done for ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes. Actually, it's not the way I understood it before. Somehow, I thought that by doing that, I'm really helping other people to have less pain and less suffering. That's what I believed when I did the practice.
You got that. You had that idea.
I had that in mind.
Yeah.
That and myself, but in a way I would like to, because of my suffering, I would like to relieve the suffering of others.
I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. I think it could happen. For example, if you're with a friend or family member, they're in the hospital, they're sick, they're in pain, maybe dying and so on. So that's a really good time to do Tonglen. You could imagine taking that person's suffering into yourself and imagine breathing out your happiness to them. It might have an effect on them. It doesn't mean, they're going to be cured and no more pain or anything, but mentally, psychologically, they might feel what you're doing. They might feel that, better. They might get, but there's no guarantee. This is what they say, there's no guarantee. It's not definite that that will happen. It depends on the other person's karma. If they have a karma, to get some benefit from your practice. But it might happen. So it might, but it will definitely do something for you, for your mind.
How does it going to affect us?
What?
How does it going to help us if we want to help the others?
How does it help us? It helps us because one of our main obstacles on the path is what's called self-cherishing, which means being obsessed with oneself. I am more important than everybody else. I am the center of the universe. This is our attitude. I am more important than everybody else. Everybody else is secondary to me. So this is one of the big obstacles for a bodhisattva to overcome. That's what is targeted by this practice. Because normally, I don't want anybody else's suffering. I got enough of my own. And I'm going to keep my happiness to myself. I'm not going to give it to anybody else. So this is our normal attitude. So this is completely going against that. I'm going to take your suffering into me, and I'm going to give you my happiness. I mean, that's totally counterintuitive. We're totally against our self-centered attitude. So that's how it helps us. It helps us to lessen our self-centeredness and increase our altruism, our concern for others, have more pure, unconditional love and compassion for others. And it said that, yeah, it purifies our negative karma, you purify a lot of negative karma, you create a lot of merit when you do this practice, so it definitely helps us get closer to enlightenment.
I think that we should be a little bit maybe clearer. Is not that if you are sick, I take your sickness and I become sick. I take upon myself your suffering. It's not the phenomena of what's going on inside you, but it's your suffering. And once it comes into myself, it doesn't get into me as suffering. On the contrary, it is being transformed into something incredibly positive. And the only thing I could say that it has to do is, I mean, sometimes when you do this and you try to heal a person who is sick, it's a process of self-healing as well. It works, otherwise actually it's not working. There is this moment of interconnection so strong with the real intention that it might be healing of both of us. That's more the thing. It's not that I take something concrete and I put it into myself and I become what you are.
Yeah, because when you take the suffering of others, it's not that then it's sitting inside of you and you're suffering, but you usually the visualization is it sort of wipes out your ego, your self-centeredness, and your delusions, all of that, and the suffering you're taking in, it all vanishes. I like to think of a black hole in space. For me, that's a nice analogy. Because they say everything that goes into a black hole just goes out of existence. I think of this black hole in my heart, the suffering, and my own suffering, all of it just disappears. Then you think of all your good stuff, all your good karma, your merit, your happiness, all the beautiful things about yourself. Like a beautiful jewel or whatever. And then you send light from that out to the others. So, yeah, that's important to understand. Not taking in the suffering and then, oh, I'm suffering, I'm suffering. It's not like that. You don't do that. Somebody else had a question?
I can't explain it very well.
Sorry?
I think it also helps to educate the conscious when suffering, when doing tonglen while suffering, the conscious is very
Suffering. The consciousness is suffering.
While suffering, doing tonglen, the conscious is very, very suffering, and one can be very into his suffer and can't. It's very difficult to do tonglen while you're suffering very much. And if you succeed by doing it, you can take yourself out of your suffering, and you look at it from the outside, and you are not into the suffer in the same moment. It helps you to get the suffer better. It's educate your conscious very well.
To use your suffering in a better way, actually.
Yes, but to get out of the suffering in that moment, do tonglen, it's something very educated.
Yeah, I've heard of a few stories like people really having suffering. Like this guy I knew in Singapore, he was in the army, a trainer in the commando in the army or whatever. And one time when he jumped, parachute jumping, he landed in the wrong way and had this terrible injury in his back, and he had to be in bed for a long time with this horrible, horrible pain. And he said he was using this practice, tonglen, and it helped him so much, to use his suffering in a constructive way. So, yeah, it gives us something to do with our suffering instead of just being miserable and suffering. So transforming it into something something useful, something positive. So, one last verse, a big one, but we'll continue in the next module. We'll get the full explanation in the next module. Verse 8. Undefiled by the stains of the superstitions of the 8 worldly concerns, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the bondage of attachment. Okay, so there's 2 main Buddhist teachings in this verse. One is about the eight worldly concerns, and the second is about emptiness. So the 8 worldly concerns, what are they?
Opposites, right? It's like
the four opposites.
Four things we're attached to, 4 things we don't want.
Pleasure and suffering.
Yeah. So
gain and loss.
Gain and loss.
Good words and reputation. Good words and being insulted.
Okay, fame and lack of fame. That's one. Gain and loss.
Pain and pleasure.
Pain and pleasure and
blame.
Good words and bad words, no?
The fourth one is blame and praise.
It's a little tricky to tell the difference between those. And one teacher explained it to me. Okay, so I think gain and loss is pretty easy, okay? So when we get things, either they, people give us things or we give ourselves things, so gain, buying new stuff and so on. We feel really happy, really good. But then when we lose money or possessions, or we don't get what we would like, we're unhappy. So our mind is up and down. And then pain and pleasure, also not too difficult to understand. When there's some pleasant experiences, we have the kind of food we like to eat, and nice sounds, nice smells, nice visual objects, nice feelings in our body. So sensory pleasures. Then we're happy, we feel great. When we have the opposite, unpleasant experiences, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, bodily sensations, we're unhappy. So it's up and down. And then, there's praise and blame. So when people say things to us that we like hearing, oh, you look so nice today, oh, you've lost weight, oh, your hair is beautiful, oh, this and that, whatever. Then we're happy, but if they say something that's critical, unpleasant to hear, we don't want to hear that. You look older. Oh, there's a wrinkle there. I didn't notice that before. Oh, look at this great hair. So we don't want that. So then we're unhappy. So praise and criticism is about what people say to our face directly. And the other one is fame and it could be lack of fame or disgrace. That's more what people say about us behind our back. The reputation. What is our reputation? So people are saying good things about us. Oh, we're happy about that. Oh, we have a good reputation. But if people are criticizing us, saying bad things about us, or I also think just nobody. Nobody talks about you. Nobody knows who you are. Right? You're kind of a nobody. That's also pretty painful, isn't it?
No.
No likes.
Most of us are nobodies.
Huh?
No likes on the post on the Facebook.
Yeah. No Facebook. I don't have any Facebook friends.
No likes. You put a post on the Facebook and nobody signs it with a like.
The like is so meaningful.
Oh,
wow.
It should be the ninth.
So meaningful.
The ninth. It should be the ninth on the list because this 2,500 years ago it wasn't so amazing.
Yeah, back in Tibet, they didn't have even newspapers. So how did people have a reputation? Just word of mouth. People love to talk. Gossip. So yeah, so now we have Facebook and Twitter and email and blogs and all these kind of things. Anyway, so basically it boils down to two things. We are happy and we get attached to and crave the pleasant kinds of experiences, gain and pleasure and praise and good reputation and so on. We want that. And then we're unhappy and have aversion to the unpleasant ones, the loss, the blame, criticism, that bad reputation, pain and so on. So it's basically about that, liking and disliking. I like this, I want more of this, I don't like that, I want to get rid of that. I mean, it's just natural. Human beings, all beings are like that. But the problem with this, well, there's various problems. One is it feeds our attachment and our aversion, which are two of the three poisons. The three poisonous states of mind, which the Buddha pointed out is the main cause of suffering, the main cause of being stuck in samsara, not being able to get out of samsara. So it's greed, hatred, ignorance. So greed and hatred. This is greed and hatred. I want that, I want that, I want more of that, more of that. And then we run after it, we make ourselves so busy trying to get more of gain and praise and good reputation and pleasure and so on. We're chasing after that, not realizing that it's impermanent, it's not going to last anyway, we can't take it with us. What good does it do when we're on our deathbed, dying, ready to go to the next life? You might be the most famous person in the world, the richest person in the world, but so what? You leave it all behind. Does that really bring happiness? Does it bring enlightenment? Does it bring liberation? No, it keeps us stuck. And then, with the things we don't like, again, we work so hard to get rid of those and avoid those and so on and so forth, but they keep coming at us in our life. We can't completely avoid them. So our whole life can be spent chasing after the good stuff and trying to run away from the bad stuff. And, where does that get us? How meaningful is that? Is that a good way to spend our life? A meaningful way to spend our precious human life? So, now Buddhism says it's much better if you can just learn to go with the flow. Accept whatever's happening. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to, just live on the street, be a homeless person. Okay, you can still have a certain amount of comfort in your life. And of course, if you have a family, you have to take care of them. But learn to be content, not just constantly wanting more and more, better, and so on. And always trying to avoid the problems. Well, you can't completely. We're going to keep coming in our life, and they're not that bad. We can use them. We can use them in our practice, transform them into the path. So to a certain extent, yes, it makes sense to try to have more pleasant experiences and avoid unpleasant ones, but not to be totally obsessed and think that this is the whole purpose of your life. This is what life is all about. I mean, that's from the point of view of spiritual path. That's not a very meaningful life. Animals, they say, animals do that. We can do more than animals. We can do better than animals. I mean, they spend their whole life trying to just find pleasure and avoid what's unpleasant. But we can do better than that. We have more potential than that. So this is one problem. But another problem is Dharma. That's the real meaning here. These can mess up our Dharma practice. So, actually that's not so clearly in this translation. Yeah, another translation is with when I'm practicing, when I'm doing these practices, like, the other 7 verses, when I'm doing these practices, may they be free of the stains of the 8 worldly concerns. So this is mentioned in a long run, for example, when we're practicing Dharma. It's possible that the 8 worldly concerns can creep into our Dharma practice. For example, I want to learn as much as I can, and people will be so impressed with me. I've studied all these texts, I know all these things, I've taken these initiations, I can, you know, do so much and know so much, and people will think I'm wonderful. Yeah? So that's not the right attitude. That's not the reason for learning Dharma, is to impress others and have a good reputation or make money. I mean, it happens. Yeah? I heard about this guy who went to Dharamsala and he wanted to learn all this stuff about Buddhism, and then his plan was to, make some sort of course that he could teach people and charge lots and lots of money and then get rich and so on and so on and so forth. So that's not the right reason to learn and practice the Dharma. Okay, it's not to become rich, famous, loved by everybody. It's to transform ourselves. It's actually to get rid of those kind of attitudes. So we do have to be careful, especially if we do start to learn more and become more sort of known, by others as a Buddhist, as a practitioner, as a meditator, whatever. We have to really watch our mind, really be careful. What is my motivation? Why am I doing this? Really try to make sure our motivation is free of the ego and of me and what I'm going to get out of it, like these 8 worldly dharmas, 8 worldly concerns, and that's why we're always advised to have a motivation for others. I'm doing this for others. Even if it's not 100% genuine, but even to train ourselves to think that way. Slowly it starts to sink in and it does become genuine. Okay. Does that make sense? Like in the beginning, I didn't really have bodhicitta motivation. I was really looking for my own happiness. But slowly, the more you go on and you think, yeah, I really want to help others, and it starts to shift at some point, you can see the focus shifting away from me. Because it's not really that satisfying, only taking care of myself. I'm just one person. But others are many. There's so many of them. And working for others is so much more satisfying, so much more meaningful. I feel so much better about myself when I'm working for others. So slowly, it does start to change. So that's one way we can reduce the 8 worldly concerns. And another way is impermanence. It's really helpful to think of impermanence. All this stuff doesn't last. Money and pleasure and fame and reputation and praise. I mean, it's impermanent. It's not really that meaningful. It's not permanent. So that's another really helpful thing. And also, you can't take it with you when you die. We're going to die one day and leave all of this behind. You can't take anything with us. So that kind of contemplation is really helpful to reduce the 8 worldly concerns. But they're going to be with us for a long time. We won't be really free of these 8 worldly concerns until we realize emptiness. That's what it takes to be really free of them. So if you still notice them there in your mind,
creeping
in, don't freak out, don't beat yourself up. They're pretty deep within us, and we have to get pretty high in the path to be completely free of them. But at least if we can notice them, notice if they're there, and realize that's not healthy, that's not good, that's not pure Dharma practice. And try not to listen to those little voices, Say, no, that's not good for me. So this is a big subject, though, and we don't have time. And also the last part of this verse is about seeing all phenomena as illusory. That's the real antidote. The real antidote is understanding emptiness, the emptiness of inherent existence, independent existence. But that's the subject of the next module. So we'll have more time then to focus on that.
Which happens 2 weeks from today.
Here, on the 9th of December, we begin with the first one.
Yeah.
Here.
So that's a really important one. And it's mainly about I mean, we want to see all phenomena. Ideally, we come to see all phenomena as not existing in the real and solid, concrete way that they appear to be. But they say it's best to start with the self, with the sense of self. I, me, big I, you know, big, strong me existing somewhere in here. So maybe between now and the next time, you know, just try to look out for that. You know, don't immediately say, oh, there's no I, you know, it doesn't exist the way I see. But just watch the sense of I, the sense of self. That's where we need to start. You know, just start by observing. Mindfulness. Just be mindful of the I when it comes up. And just get to know, become more familiar, more acquainted with how you see yourself. You know, what is the sense of I? I mean, it's changing all the time. Don't expect it's always going to be the same, but just get to know the sense of self, the sense of I that you have, and how it manifests, and kind of how it feels and what it does in your life. So just to do some exploration, some investigation. I don't mean so much investigation like analyzing, but just watching. Looking, watching, being aware, observing your sense of self or I. Because many people never do this. They just assume I exist. I know who I am. I know how I am. They never question that. Most people.
Yeah.
Well, probably.
Who looks at the consciousness as well? Until I came to Buddhism, I never thought about the consciousness.
Well, scientists are starting to be.
Yeah, of course.
Some scientists, not all. Some.
I never thought about this big machine that I have in my life. Which is consciousness.
Yeah, this is such an interesting topic. I mean, all of these topics. Mind, consciousness, awareness, and the I, the self. What is the self? I mean, really important and interesting. You can also memorize it in Hebrew. Yeah, maybe that works better. Yeah, good. Good translator.
I like the version of Two Ten Children. I think the one that you relate to when you read the book. It's easier to...
There's so many different versions.
Yeah.
Jimba Tubin Jimba has a different version, many different versions. With Sonam and book by Geshe Sonam and Shinra. There's different versions.
Mm-hmm.
So you can choose whatever one you like best.
Eventually they all come to the same conclusion. So
yeah, the essential, try to find the essential point here, and try to work on that in whatever way you can. Like I say, you know, don't put high expectations on yourself that you have to be like this and practice like this, and if you don't, you're a bad person and you beat yourself up. Don't be like that. Just think, wow, there's some people who can practice like that. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if I could do that, even just a little teeny weeny bit?
Don't become
or aspire for it in the future. Now I can't do it. I can't do this now. No, it's too hard for me. But one day I would like to be able to do that. So even have that kind of thought, that kind of attitude is really quite fantastic. Okay, so let's make a dedication.
34. I'm always preparing myself when I come here.
I would like to point out to dedicate our prayers for Nitzan is not here. Nitzan and Il, the
photographer,
is not here.
The cameraman.
Because Il's mother, in the hospital, she's in bed. So I'd like to offer our prayers to Il and to the family for quick recovery. It's the first session, I think, of discovering Buddhism that Nitzan is not here. And that is the reason. It's we're finishing module 11, and Nitzan has been in all the sessions except this one. So I think, at least in my mind, it sort of brings up the motivation for this dedication.
Maybe we can add somebody else, Shugi?
Yeah, of course.
Rachel Paz was a member of the Sangye, then she had a small tumor in her head, which was not malignant, but she is suffering and she's lying in bed for 2 months now, or maybe more. So maybe we can, because this is part of our Sangha, so maybe we can dedicate for her also.
And all the other people who are sick, who are suffering, who are dying, who are in grief, hungry, homeless, cold, whatever. So many people, so many beings suffering. So let's dedicate all of them, all we can clear their suffering as quickly as possible and get on the path that will lead to real liberation from suffering and enlightenment. So, page
35, it's,
yeah, it's kind of a funny arrangement here.
Yeah.
Backwards.
Yeah.
So let's start with page 35, optional prayers of dedication. We'll do those 4 prayers, and then we'll do the long life prayers. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a pure Buddha, and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samat Khadro too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with a dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. And a long life prayer for His Holiness, page 34. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And on page 33, the short long life prayer for Lama Sapunta. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers, honoring the 3 jewels, Savior of myself and others, her disciples, please, please, live on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Zoom.
What's the name?